have a lot for you in today's video. We'll be making a very special balm with juniper berry that is just gorgeous on your skin, as well as a vanilla spice tea latte. Let's get going. Hi there, I'm Karen and welcome back to my channel. You know, as the vibrant days of summer fade and we start to settle into that crisp embrace of autumn, I've been reflecting on the beauty of the seasonal shift. And recently I did something that is really different. I did something that I don't usually do. I took the chance to take a quiet walk in the woods near my cabin. Now there's a really special place, and I'm sure you've got a special spot as well, but this is a wooden bench held up by two carved bears where I love to just sit and I love to listen to the world just slow down. The air was crisp, like leaves rustling gently, and I felt something shift, like the hawk that was soaring above my head, and it took my worries with it. And in that quiet moment, I thought about something that was really close to my heart. The people that we invite into our lives, you know, the ones that bring us that peace, that encourage us to grow in ways, and it feels natural. It feels comforting, even when we are experiencing change in our lives. It's like being on that familiar bench, and we're feeling safe, grounded, completely at ease. And I want you to know that it's exactly how I feel about you here with me on this journey. I'm so glad that you're here. Now, speaking of warmth and comfort, I've been reaching for essential oils and different scents that match the season's coziness, like vanilla, cinnamon, cloves, the grounding woods, and just a hint of our citrus. And today I want to share with you this special drink that will bring in these deep, meaningful conversations. So here's the recipe. Find your favorite loose leaf pure tea, a different black tea, anything that is your favorite tea. We'll be adding 2 clove buds, a piece of cinnamon bark, a teaspoon of dried orange peel, a half a teaspoon of vanilla, and 1 to 2 teaspoons of maple syrup to taste. Of course, you can use honey or a different sweetener. Maple syrup brings a little bit of coolingness into the warmth of our spicy drink. So let's make this. The first thing that we'll do is we're going to add 1 or 2 teaspoons, and I'm going to do 2 teaspoons of our favorite pure tea into our container where we can steep all of these beautiful spices. In fact, I might just put 1 more in and make a little bit more than I'm anticipating. Now I'm going to add my spices. So we'll take 2 of our clove buds. Did you know that clove bud really helps if you have an autoimmune disease? So we'll put 2 of those in. And then we're going to add our 1 teaspoon of dried orange peel. Now I'm putting in some dried orange peel here. But if you don't have dried orange peel, you can also use a fresh orange. Just make sure that it's organically grown and that you have washed it, because sometimes they put a wax on here. And then you just get some kind of a little zester. This is a citrus zester. And you just start zesting the peel like this. See, it doesn't take very much, and you're getting some beautiful peel in here. Now you just pop that in there. Oh, it smells really good. Get all that beautiful zest in there. And then we're going to add our vanilla powder. Now this is a vanilla powder that I just found on Amazon. I try to find either an organic. This is a wild vanilla powder. And I don't have a particular one that I like, so just see what you like as you're browsing through. We'll do a half a teaspoon of our vanilla powder. Put that right in on top. And then we're ready to put our hot water in. So I've got about a 200 degrees of hot water, and I'm just going to pour this in so that it's about This is going to be about 2 cups, about 16 ounces. But you can also make this into an 8-ounce cup. It just smells beautiful. We're going to let it steep for about 5 minutes. If you're using a black tea that needs 3 minutes, then simply put everything in except for your black tea, let it steep for about 3 minutes, then add your black tea and do your remaining 3 minutes. And we'll just put our top on there and we'll begin our countdown. Now that this is steeped for almost 5 minutes, I'm going to do something really special, and I'm going to put my favorite creamer on top. How I do this is I have, and I'm going to put this right up here. This is a little frother, and I'm going to add a little bit of my favorite creamer. This happens to be a coconut and almond creamer. It's unsweetened. Just pour a little bit of that in there. And at this point, I'm going to add in a little bit of my maple syrup. Just do this to taste. I like 1 or 2 teaspoons in there, and then we're going to froth this up, and you're going to see what a beautiful drink this is. Now we're going to put this frothed creamer right into our drink. I made a little bit of a mess here. There we go. Put this over here. And then to top this, and sometimes you can even get it to do little peaks on there, but I decided not to take the time to do that. So we'll just take a little bit of our cocoa powder or carob powder and sprinkle it on top. So this is that perfect drink to savor the season and enjoy those long, soul-nourishing talks. Just like my time on the bench, moments like these remind me to slow down and connect. This is really delicious. You're going to love this blend. Now I want to talk about something that can really make this transition into fall even smoother, and that is Juniper Berry Essential Oil. As our days get shorter and our joints can just get a little cold and they can feel a little bit of achy, we're going to add a little bit of extra love in and add Juniper Berry Oil for its amazing, easing, discomforting properties thanks to the anti-inflammatory therapeutic properties that it has. Just a few drops in a carrier like jojoba oil, it can work wonders on our neck and our shoulders. But today we're going to make a really special balm using Kpangnan butter. So in our newsletter, we're specifically talking about our juniper berry. Juniper berry has really supported me during this month. And here's why it's so effective. It contains anti-inflammatory properties thanks to that A-pinene component, which helps to reduce inflammation, especially for conditions like cold, achy, arthritis, chronic conditions. It kind of warms them up. It has a lot of pain relief thanks to B-myrcene that is in here. It helps to modulate those pain receptors. It's a mind-body balance as well. It promotes that deep, grounding, calming aspects. A really simple way to use this blend is by putting about 6 drops into a roller bottle with your favorite carrier like either a trauma oil, or I like using jojoba oil as well. You would put it in there, roll it on your achy joints, maybe your achy shoulders or your achy fingers, to get that relief that you've been longing for. And if you look, the recipe is also in the blog that I'll be referencing in this newsletter. And speaking of pain relief, have you heard of Kpangnan butter? It looks like it's spelled Kpangnan butter, but it's pronounced Kpangnan butter. And this is sourced from Togo in West Africa. And it looks a lot like shea butter, but it has its own very special charm. It's packed with natural plant sterols like stigmasterol, which are incredible for soothing our inflammation. I want to show you what this looks like. It's quite a yellow color. It's a little bit more powdery than our shea butter is, but it works much the same. And in fact, in some recipes, unless you're really looking for that pain relief, you might even think about substituting shea butter with this. Kpangnan butter melts beautifully into the skin, making it perfect for joint and muscle relief. And I love using it in blends, especially for achy joints as the weather cools down. I've got a great recipe for you. It's called Juniper Berry Balm for joint relief. You can use this for other areas as well, like your shoulders, maybe your knees. What we're going to use is 10 drops of juniper berry, 7 drops of our copaiba balsam, and 7 drops of our beautiful lavender, which is the lavandula angustifolia. We'll be using 1 ounce of our Kpangnan butter, a half an ounce of our jojoba oil, and a half an ounce of our cocoa butter. We're going to melt these all together. So are you ready? Let's make this. So for this recipe, we're going to start with the hardest butters first, which is our cocoa butter, and we need our weight scales. We're going to use 0.5 ounce of our cocoa butter. So I'm going to put my little container right here, turn it on, make sure that it is tiered, and we're going to put this so that it's showing at our ounces. Okay, our cocoa butter smells wonderful. It helps to thicken up our blend so that we're not using beeswax in this particular recipe. So just 0.5 or 0.5, sorry, and I like to break these into smaller pieces so that they melt faster. Okay, we're almost at a half an ounce, a little bit more to go. And then we're going to add another 0.5 fluid ounces of our jojoba oil. That would be 15 mils. I've got my nifty little graduated cylinder. We'll get our 15 mils up here. We'll pour that right into our cocoa butter. Once this is almost melted, then we'll add in our Kpangnan butter, the last thing before our essential oils. So I have my cocoa butter in here, I have my jojoba oil, and I'm going to put it over here on a tea warmer. Now this is a really fun way to melt your butters. This one goes up to 170, and this will melt pretty quickly. And once this is melted, then we'll put our soft butter in, which is our Kpangnan butter. While we're waiting for that to melt, I want to measure out 1 ounce of Kpangnan butter. That would be equivalent to about 28 grams. To get this to melt, I have to put a little weight on the top so that it stays at the 170. You can also do this using a Pyrex dish or a Pyrex container, like a measuring cup, into a double boiler and melt your butters that way. Now while we wait, we're going to measure out 1 ounce of Kpangnan butter, which is equivalent to about 28 grams. So I'm going to put this on tare, put it over to grams, and we'll start putting in and measure out our Kpangnan butter. It's a little bit sticky, which is very typical, and it smells very, to me it smells a little bit floral, a little bit nutty. So, and there we are, we're perfect. Got just the right amount in there. This is also a very handy tool to have, so you don't have to use your fingers. There we go, put that over there. That is beautiful. And now we're going to wait for this to melt. And while we wait for this to melt, let's measure out our essential oils as well. Put our weight scales to the side, get our little bowl, and we're ready to put in our essential oils. We'll be putting in 10 drops of our juniper berry, it's beautiful. And we'll add 7 drops of our copaiba balsam. Copaiba balsam, some people call it balsam copaiba, is really great for pain and inflammation too. If you get an extra drop of one of these oils in, don't even worry about that. Our next oil will be, and our last one will be, 7 drops of lavandula angustifolia. we're waiting for this to melt, there's a really big question that is out there, and it's a really great question. When you're working with butters like shea butter or Kpangnan butter, when we melt them and let them cool at room temperature, we'll notice a really grainy feeling about them. You'll find this information in Under the Vine that you'll find in our community discussions at the end of the newsletter. But when you melt this at room temperature, all the different butters will kind of solidify at different rates, and that causes us to have a grainy feeling. To avoid that grainy feeling, it is so easy. You'll take your final blend and you'll simply put it in the freezer. You'll let it freeze so that it's totally solid, and then take it out. And once that's melted, which doesn't take very long, you have the most beautiful, smooth butter. And when I pour my essential oils, like I have done, I'll usually cover it with something just to keep those beautiful aromas from evaporating. Let's check our cocoa butter. Ooh, it's melting really nicely. At this point, there's just a few little pieces left in there. We'll start adding in our Kpangnan butter to melt. Every time we add something into this, it's going to start to solidify again. So we'll add this in here. Whoops, we got a little bit on our burner. And as you can see, as I put this in, it's already starting to melt. When I first looked at this, I thought there's no way I'm going to get all this Kpangnan butter in, but we are. We're getting it all in here as it melts. It doesn't take much heat to melt the Kpangnan butter. Get all the rest of it in here. And now we'll give it a little bit of a stir. Going to push those down, and I'm going to cover it again with my weight. This will take about 2 minutes for this to melt. Let's see how our blend is doing. It is all melted. So at this point, we'll take it off of the heat and make sure that it's not too hot for you to touch. Take it off of our heat, move this out of the way, and then we'll give it just a second here. It's not too hot for the essential oils. And we're going to stir in our essential oils. You have a little bit of time to work. And we're going to blend it up really well. Now this is a low dilution blend so that you can use it on a long-term basis, because sometimes those chronic aches and pains, it takes a while for us to get relief from that. This is my go-to recipe for those cooler evenings when my hands or my knees or my shoulders need just a little bit of TLC. And sometimes I'll put it on just as a perfume. Now that we have this well blended, I'm going to put the lid on and go put it in my freezer, and I'll be back in a few minutes once it's frozen. So I put this in the freezer. It was in there while I had lunch. I've taken it out for probably a good 20 minutes. And now I've got this really gorgeous, soft, beautiful balm. Look how gorgeous that is. I'm just going to put a little bit of this on. It just soothes on. There's no graininess to it. It's absolutely beautiful. So as our autumn deepens and as we're reminded to just let go of what no longer serves us, just like the trees are shedding their leaves, take a moment this week to pause, reflect, and just enjoy the season's gentle transition. Thank you so much for joining me today, and I hope that you'll try the Vanilla Spice Tea Latte, the Juniper Berry Balm. Add a little bit of warmth and comfort to your autumn days. And as always, stay inspired, keep blending, and I'll see you next time.